Welcome again to a playoff episode of Race Gang. I'm your host, as always, John Diekman. This today is Jonathan Christopher, Jonathan Wall,
Hey guys.
Gerald Harper,
What's up?
and we have our friend joining us today, Dustin Johnson.
What's going on?
In two races, the Richmond race. I think let's talk about that real quick. I don't know. I didn't see much of it. Nothing crazy, but kind of big surprise with we had Truex domination till the end when he got helped with Denny Hamlin. Is that a fair assessment to say?
Yep.
By Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson snuck out with that victory. But let's kind of talk about the people who made the chase, and I think the biggest surprise is the fact that Joey Logano did not make this, even though he won a race this year. His win was encumbered at Kansas.
Richmond.
Was it Richmond? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Richmond. Jesus. But yeah, his
Spring
he
Richmond,
did not.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because it was rained out. But he did not win, or he did not make the chase. I think that's kind of the biggest surprise. I mean, where do y'all's takeaway over the Richmond race, real quick?
I think that, honestly, Richmond hasn't been, even though it's a short track, it really hasn't been all that exciting for a while. The Spring Richmond race was absolute garbage. This one only had a little bit of interest just because it was the cutoff race to make the playoffs. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
I disagree. I think, unless you're battling for the lead, I think Richmond's a fun race to watch. But typically, you are correct. When you get towards the top 3 or 4, it's not that fun to watch. But back in the pack, Richmond's one of the better races to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good battles throughout. I think it was entertaining. It might not be the Richmond of old that we're used to, where it's like memorable moments like Kyle Busch, Wrecking Jr., and stuff like that. I think it has opened up to a multi-group short track, but I think there's plenty of racing all throughout, and it makes it entertaining to watch, to say the least.
Who's Go ahead, Gerald.
Probably the biggest story, though, besides the race being boring cup race, which seems to be every race, but the total BS caution at the end. But I don't like to see a guy dominate, and as much as in the back of your mind you're hoping for a caution to make it interesting, but you cannot not feel bad for, or you cannot feel bad. No, you cannot not feel bad for Truex when it comes to just garbage like that. And I think he spoke his mind enough to not get fined, at least. But that caution was total garbage. And I haven't been that mad after a cup race in a long time. But I think NASCAR really, really just stepped on their own tails.
I think I speak for everyone when I say, at least, that NASCAR needs to be more consistent. I mean, how many times in years have we seen it?
Or just not be so obvious. Like, that was obvious. Sometimes they'll throw, like, those phantom debris cautions. Or,
do they have a new
like
person who calls the cautions every race? Is it the same person, or what?
I don't
Anyone
know?
know?
That's a good question.
I know David Hoots is in charge of it, I believe, but I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of procedure there, but hey, it's not real hard to say, for somebody to give somebody a nudge and, well, hey, we need a caution. I'm not sure that that's how it works, and I can't speak on that from personal experience. But I mean, obviously, NASCAR implemented at the beginning of the season these little, what do you call them? I don't know. They're not heat races. I'm drawing a blank here. But
Stage?
Yeah, stage racing. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on that. Anyways, and everybody thought, well, maybe this will cut out NASCAR's phantom debris cautions, but it seems like it kind of did okay for a little bit, but now it's just a typical thing for NASCAR to throw a caution into the race, especially it seems if Truex is out front.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to sit there and watch a race to know that you're not getting the full product that we kind of deserve. You know?
I like True's comment when he was like, you got a guy who's probably 20 something laps down and he's 50 miles an hour slower than the rest of the field and he still can't even hold his line. Still hit the wall.
And you notice how it's always the back marker car that causes that late caution. And I don't want to wear a tinfoil hat here, but there's so many people that say like, "Oh, NASCAR pays off the low guys to spin out with 3 to go." But if you ever notice, it's always them. Like, why is it conveniently like Landon Castle? Nothing against Landon Castle, but he's in garbage equipment. But somehow he'll scrape the wall and spin out with 10 to go or something. It's never like Kurt Busch or Kevin Harvick spinning out with 3 to go.
Well,
BK
like
Racing.
at the beginning of the race, when Matt Kenseth locked his front tires up going into 3, they threw a caution for that. So
yeah, that was a load of BS, man.
Yeah,
I've heard.
What are we doing here?
3 or 4 different podcasts all talking about that, and every single one of them were like, "Who in NASCAR had their head up whose butt on that call?"
Somebody wasn't watching the race and just happened to look up for a split second and see smoke. I guarantee you.
Whenever they see smoke, they just threw it.
Oh, also speaking of Matt Kenseth, what kind of bull crap was that with the ambulance? Like, I don't know. I think that's inexcusable on NASCAR's part as well. In that fact,
that whole race, it just felt like NASCAR was not paying attention.
Every once in a blue moon, you have this thing happen. I just think it was the perfect storm. I don't think communication was getting fed to the safety or the people in the ambulance properly. I don't think that the driver of the ambulance did what he was supposed to do properly. NASCAR shouldn't have opened pit road. It was just an accumulation of all these different things to go wrong at the wrong time, or at the right time rather, for this to happen, and it absolutely just screwed Kenseth.
I disagree. I think the ambulance driver did exactly what he should have. It's ultimately none of us were there, but I would put it on NASCAR for him being there because he does what he's told. And once he realized that he was not in the right situation, he stopped and let the drivers that get paid millions to race, try to do their best to get around him, which is, in my opinion, what he should have done. The worst thing he could have done was keep that moving roadblock moving down pit road and in the way statically.
Oh, I agree. Once he found himself in that situation, he did exactly what he should have done. The issue I have with it is he should have never even been there in the first place. No reason why he wasn't parked on the backstretch.
Well, Brian, I'm not sure if it was Brian Pence or who, but NASCAR released a statement basically not pinning it on the safety crew, but not pinning it on themselves either. Mm-hmm. But you'd have to take that with a grain of salt because, they're still throwing phantom debris caution, so do you really believe them?
Yeah, I think it was Steve O'Donnell. He was telling MRN some jackwagon excuse. Basically, he wasn't blaming it on the ambulance driver, but they weren't owning up to it either. Basically just saying like, oh, we just had a lot going on up in the booth. There was a lot of chaos. There was a lot going on. It's like, well, you're the ones that make the final decision about, when to open pit road, where the ambulance supposed to be. Do we, at the end of the day, if there's no one place to blame on, the blame falls on the organizers. It's NASCAR.
On the debris caution top, one last thing I noticed. When Junior was out front, you could clearly see something blue in the middle to upper groove of 1 and 2. And I don't know why, with their reputation, they did not throw the caution. We have seen NASCAR throw cautions for wash rags. We've seen them throw cautions for rubber. So no matter what it was, why the caution wasn't thrown, we will never know. And then they throw a caution for somebody not even hitting the wall hard enough to scratch the car.
I think you've already said it.
That goes back to the whole fact that it's just inconsistency. It's just the thing. You're never gonna have it how we should be, because now the fact that years ago at Richmond with the whole Michael Waltrip racing and the Clint Boyer incident, that will forever taint NASCAR in that fact. You will never trust a yellow flag wholeheartedly now because of it. You know?
Well, I don't know what the reasoning was behind it, but could you imagine if NASCAR threw a debris caution with the 80 out front?
When he had the whole field a lap down.
Yeah, it would have been conspiracy theorists coming out of the woodwork on that one.
Oh,
Then
absolutely.
would it be too obvious at that point? Would NASCAR maybe NASCAR's judgment was the fact that if we were to do that, it would be a little obvious, and that would be the problem. No,
that's a lose-lose situation for them. Like you just said, I mean, if they'd have thrown a legitimate caution because there was debris in 1 and 2, even if you could prove it, somebody somewhere would have been like, "Well, why didn't you throw it right before Junior took the lead? Why didn't you throw it when Truex was leading?" You know, been sitting out there for 50 laps. You know, just because he needs a win to get into the playoffs, it's his last season. You know, that'd have been a lose-lose situation for
the best
NASCAR.
is when the drivers, like I'll be just scrolling through Twitter during the race, following the teams and stuff, and I'll see at least 4 or 5 times a race a driver tries to say, "Oh, I see debris in turn 3," and then the NASCAR will say, "Nope, track is clear," but then we'll come down to the end of the race when none of the drivers are saying it, then they decide to throw it. So basically, telling the drivers, "No, we're controlling the entire race," and
more people just need to carry water bottles like Brad Keselowski and throw them out the window.
or just have team orders to have wrecks.
Hey, speaking of Truex's frustration for not winning that race, of all the pictures they took post-race for, playoff pictures that they're going to send to all their sponsors and all that, you think NASCAR had to go, or whoever took the picture, you think they're going to have to Photoshop a smile on Truex's face before they send them out?
The playoff photo with all the drivers. He's the only one not smiling.
I don't think he smiled in a single picture. He just gave a F this face,
Yeah, as soon as that race was over, I didn't watch all that stuff. But
it was
interesting
funny.
trophy, by the way. That was a whatever trophy.
Like in the 16 player playoff picture that's got everybody in it, he's the only one just whatever,
To be
Doesn't
fair
have
though,
a
that point's not going to hurt him. He's I think they said he would pretty much have to fail to race.
No, I'm just talking about.
No, I know. I'm saying no, in the sense of the points he
Yeah.
lost from that race.
Oh,
He pretty much has a straight shot to Miami. But with that, more silly season news before we hit up Chicagoland. Danica Patrick out of the 10 car, Eric Almirola out of the 43, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bubba Wallace to the 43.
Not only is Eric out of the 43, but Smithfield's leaving RPM also.
No, yeah, and Smithfield's leaving RPM altogether, but Bubba Wallace is joining the 43.
I don't think Bubba to the 43 is a done deal. I was just reading today where Front Row is actually shown interest in Bubba too, and that Petty don't actually have him inked yet.
Is it a handshake agreement?
Well, I'm sure Bubba's taking whatever first come first serve because I know he's struggling or he just wants to race. So, but I mean, where do you think it would be better for Bubba to go, Furniture Row or RPM? Because there's also rumors with RPM might merge with RCR. You think that'll help or hurt RPM?
RCR's been going down the toilet faster and faster every year, it seems.
That's a blind leading a blind. I don't know why they would want to merge with somebody that's in the same boat as they are, in my opinion.
That would be benefit, and that's also a good reason for them to get that 77 car around because Furniture Row is very adamant about that. Keep wanting to have the 77 there.
As far as teams are concerned, I think I would rather go to Furniture Row that's aligned with JGR than go to RPM that's going to align themselves with Richard Childress,
Did I say Furniture Row? I meant to say Front Row. If I said Furniture Row, that's my bad. Front Row has shown interest in Bubba.
Oh, Front Row. Okay. But still, I would go to Front Row. Well, even then, Front Rows are Fords, and that's Bubba Wallace is a big Ford man, so I think that would because if RPM went to RCR, he'll be driving a Chevy then.
I don't know. I would probably I mean, front row being a Ford, and he's pretty much driven Fords, with the exception of Kyle Busch Motorsports.
And the 99 truck.
Yeah, I would probably be more inclined if I was in his shoes. Now, granted, you're going to take whatever you can get, right? The best ride you can possibly get. I'd probably align myself with front row just because they are Ford. And then as soon as the Wood brothers decide to get rid of Paul Menard, he can go take over that 21 car, who's at that point might still have a affiliation with Penske.
Yeah, I really don't like the fact. I mean, I'm a big Wood Brothers fan, so I really don't like the fact that they got Paul Menard. I think there's other drivers out there that they could have gotten.
That's only because Paul Menard bought that seat. That's the only reason why.
Paul Menard can buy any seat.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
You have your last name all over the car.
Yeah, when your daddy sponsors, 23 of the 36 races, not that hard.
What do you guys think, though? Do you think he's going to take the 10 car, though, with Danica Patrick being out? And is Danica going to get a ride as well? Have we seen the last of Danica Patrick in NASCAR?
I think we might have.
In the Cup Series, yes.
Might have been Stenhouse, I heard talking about it, but saying that if she can't she wants a competitive ride. So if she can't find a competitive ride, she's got a lot more going on outside of NASCAR that, not going to be a devastating loss if she doesn't race another Cup race. Can't get in a competitive ride. But as far as the 10 is concerned, I read this thing the other day when I found out about Smithfield and Eric leaving RPM, that Smithfield is going to the 10 car. Smithfield is going to be the primary sponsor for the 10 car next season.
Yeah,
and Smithfield likes Eric Almirola. And because back in the day, sponsors used to sponsor the driver and not the team.
Yeah.
So and I read, if you kind of read between the lines, the way that Smithfield talked, they sponsor more Eric Almirola than they do Richard Petty Motorsports. So it would not be a complete shock to me if next season you see Eric Almirola driving the 10 car in a good car, where he can actually showcase some talent.
I'd be good for him too, 'cause I like Eric Almirola.
I do too.
Shows some promise.
Mm-hmm. And Kurt Busch is not, his next year is not concrete at SHR also.
Yeah, they still, even though they've been trying to squash those rumors, it hasn't fully been out.
So you might have, I don't know, who knows? You could always have maybe a Bubba Wallace go to Stewart-Haas. I doubt that, but you never know.
I think Bubba Wallace has been rumored to go to Richard Petty Motorsports 43, whatever they plan on doing. He's supposed to be going there. They still need sponsorship.
We talked about that. You kind of just
gotcha.
For those who don't know, Jay Wall is having a baby, so he's probably waiting for the wife to call.
Whoa! Don't talk to me like that.
Hopefully his girlfriend doesn't listen to the podcast.
I know. Oops. But yeah, we just got done talking about the whole silly season. But so with that, guys, thoughts about Chicagoland?
Another mile and a half domination by Martin Truex. Yeah.
I'll say who surprised me in that race though was Chase Elliott. I thought that from lap 1 they went out swinging and it showed, and they showed that they're actually pushing for that. It surprised me, especially the fact the way that Jimmy Johnson ran. I don't think Jimmy Johnson ran all that well, all things considered.
24 has definitely been performing a lot better as of lately.
I talked about this last podcast too. Between of all the Hendrick drivers, I think Chase Elliott, even though his finishes don't show it, they're not indicative of his season. He's the most consistent driver they've had all season, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I still think Jimmy Johnson's going to pull out something.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You definitely cannot count out Jimmy Johnson till he is absolutely eliminated I mean, it would just be.
Well, I think Jimmy Johnson even still got top 10. So if I'm not mistaken, so I mean,
He's
it's
just had a
not.
quiet season. I mean,
But that's
he's
dangerous. That's something that I would not like if I was to together competitors is a quiet Jimmy Johnson season.
Well, he does it every year too.
Exactly.
Because it's kind of almost better to know that Jimmy Johnson has it than Jimmy Johnson just sit in the background. And I mean, with 7 titles, working on 8, I mean, I don't care how great of a season Martin Truex Jr. has or Kyle Busch and stuff like that. You can't like the Tom Brady effect. He's always the first one. He's got to be number 1 on your list to win it.
As
Yeah.
dominant as Truex has been all season, I mean, Truex. Let's be honest. Truex should have at least 2 or 3 more wins than he does.
I would say 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say 5
If
or 6.
if he wins the championship this season, I'm not saying he's going to go off and bust off 5 in a row like Jimmy did, but could we be looking at another dynasty, kind of
No.
like the 48 has?
I'm gonna say no because it's
No?
almost like because I would expect it from Kyle Busch more than I would expect it from Martin Truex. Just on the sole fact that right now the only reason why he's so good is because Furniture Row is with Joe Gibbs, and I think once that partnership splits, I'm not saying like there's a rumor of that. I'm just saying either they merge or they split, that's all it's gonna be. You know what I mean? But with that being said, I don't think that it won't sustain.
I mean, I know it's cart in front of the horse, so to speak, just yet, since he doesn't even have one championship. But as dominant as he's been, I mean, I could see Martin Truex Jr. as long as the status quo stays the same, I could see them being in contention for winning a championship year in and year out.
I also don't think it's going to take 5 years for the other manufacturers to figure out whatever Toyota has and match it.
No, I think you give Chevrolet a half a season with their new car next season. I think the gap will for surely be closed, if not surpassed.
Yeah,
but
but you look at
would want to crank something out too with the whole resurgence of Penske and Stewart Haas after this offseason, with Ryan Blaney going to Penske and maybe a possible,
I think Stewart Haas is, well, not the entirety of Stewart Haas. I think Bowyer's been subpar and Danica's Danica. But I think Kevin Harvick has been not as dominant as they were in the Chevy, but he's been, I would say, behind. If I were to pick a championship 4, it would be the 78, the 18, the 42, and either Jimmy Johnson or Kevin Harvick.
Well, one of the things that made Jimmy so good, such a dominant threat in the playoffs, was all the mile and a halves. Who's been dominating the mile and a halves this season? Truex.
And Homestead is mile and a half at the year.
No.
It's a mile and a half, but it's a unique track. I think Larson has a chance.
Yeah, if for those 4 drivers that I just mentioned, if I were to pick one to not only, I think he could win the race, not only beat the other guys, but I would pick him to win the race.
I don't see Kevin Harvick being there. I agree. If we're talking who the 4 that should be there, the 78, 18, and 42 definitely are heads and shoulders above the rest. But I would put the 20 as my number 4 because Matt's just been so consistent this year. Even though he don't have a win, he deserves to be at Homestead with the finishes he gets.
But I mean, Kevin Harvick can still. I mean, it's.
And remember, if he can get to the last round, then there's Phoenix, and Harvick is the king of Phoenix.
He may deserve it. I just don't think that. I mean, with Kenseth announcing that he's not going to be with Gibbs next season, I think there's just too much to
turmoil.
Yeah, too much turmoil going on. I mean, I'm sure Kenseth will be a professional, and I'm sure he will, do his best for the team, and vice versa. And he absolutely has a shot at it, but I just think there's too much going on for him to have to have an actual shot at it, I guess.
I wouldn't put Harvick as a lock to win Phoenix either. The past spring race, I don't really remember him contending up front at all, nor do I remember him being up front last fall. So he did go on a run, but the last 2 races, which in a what do you do today type sport, he hasn't been very good.
Well, Harvick's dominated Richmond in past just as much as he has Phoenix, and he was not anywhere at Richmond. So
with that, we got 4 more races before the elimination. The 4 drivers. Who you guys think are the first 4 out? I'll say my pick right now. I think it's going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, and Austin Dillon. Those are my first 4 out.
Where'd Newman place yesterday?
I think he was the worst finishing playoff driver.
No, it was either, I think it might have been Casey Kane. I thought Newman had like a top 10 yesterday.
No,
top
he
10.
didn't.
No.
He was the worst performing
Oh.
playoff driver all day.
Oh, well, my bad.
I agree with Newman, Stenhouse Jr., and Austin Dillon because those 3, in my opinion, didn't deserve to be there in the first place. And the 4th driver, they've had some inconsistencies, and they've been horrible since he got his first career win. I think Ryan Blaney's going to be the 4th one to miss it in the first round.
I don't not agree with you there on that one. I'm gonna say Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, Kane, and McMurray. I think McMurray has a chance to screw my bracket up, but have to wait and see. I guess it's wide open right now. I mean, anything could happen.
I definitely think both RCR cars are going to be the first one out. I think Casey Kane, with the exception of winning Indy, he hasn't done nothing all season. The 4th one's, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Well, I say Ricky Stenhouse just on the sole fact that, I mean, his only wins have been super speed, whether Talladega and Daytona.
Yeah. If he can make it past the first round, then he might have an opportunity to win at Dega.
But, I mean, he hasn't shown great speed all throughout. So, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's the playoffs. It's supposed to be crazy, March Madness style stuff, so we'll see.
But see, I can see Blaney going further than Kurt Busch, though. I think Kurt Busch might be one of the first ones out, too.
No, Kurt Busch has been running really, really good.
You think so?
Yeah, no, he's been performing. I mean, he hasn't had any luck go his way, but his cars have been fast. I don't think he's out in the first round.
I think
performance
like
has
12th
anything to do with it. Yeah, but he was better than that. He was a top 5 car at Richmond and Chicagoland, if I believe.
No, yesterday he kept complaining about vibrations towards the end of the race, which hurt him.
Diekman said he would be right back, so we're gonna move on to the next topic, guys. How many of you guys were able to see Brad Keselowski's tweet earlier?
That's funny.
Just for the viewers at home, I'm trying to put it up on my phone now, so I can read it off to the people at home. Just give me 1 second here, guys.
Talking about haven't seen a manufacturer running away like this since
the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, Jeff Gluck tweeted, and he said, catching up from afar, looks like Toyotas were 1, 2, 3, 4 in first practice at Chicagoland. Then Harvick and Larson after that. And Brad Keselowski quoted the tweet and said, "We are all in for a rude awakening. Haven't seen NASCAR let a manufacturer get this far ahead since the 70s." And I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's anything unusual for Brad Keselowski to say. We all know that he's always said what he wanted to do. I think it was unusual the response that he got out of the Toyota drivers, though.
They all lashed back pretty fast.
Yeah, Kyle Busch called him a crybaby. I think Denny Hamlin had something to say.
Kettle back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Kyle Busch had more than just a crybaby. He told him to STFU.
Right. We know there's no love lost on this podcast for Kyle Busch. We all respect his talent, but There's no love lost here for him.
I agree with Kyle Busch a little bit, though. And this is probably going to be the only time I've ever gone, I think he's right. When he said, Fords were strong at the beginning of the year, and we weren't. But instead of crying about it, we just, put our nose to the grindstone and went to work.
Yeah,
now we're fast.
When the year started, especially in Xfinity, I noticed it the most. Gibbs wasn't up to par when it started.
Even in Cup, they weren't.
Well,
yeah.
And that was the thing, is when was Kyle Busch going to get his first win? When was Joe Gibbs going to get his first win? The only car that's been dominant from start to finish has been that 78.
Yeah.
Well, so, I got to agree with Kyle Busch. Sorry, well.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Maybe Brad shouldn't have tweeted it out, but honestly, we all say it's not what we all been thinking.
No, it is. I kind of don't want it to sound like this, or I don't want it to be true kind of thing, because I think it's terrible for the sport if it is, with the fact of how much money Toyota's giving NASCAR, because to be honest, that's probably the only thing keeping NASCAR sustainable right now is Toyota's involvement.
Here's my opinion of the situation. Is people bring up that the Chevrolet dominated in the 80s and the 90s the way that Toyota is now, even more so. But here's my thing: if the Toyota Camry car is that much better than everybody else, then I am 100% okay with that, and I can go to bed at night knowing that my teams and my favorite drivers got beat fair and square. Where I don't think it's right is where NASCAR penalizes these Chevy and these Ford teams, and they look the other way on the Toyotas. You have to be. You don't have a car as dominant as JGR and Furniture Row Racing without somebody somewhere looking the other way.
Well, if you notice, the 78 car failed inspection 3 times before the race on Sunday.
Really? I didn't know that.
They had to go back to the garage for a few minutes and then come back to inspection, and then they finally passed. And then that car wins the race. And I know that wasn't talked about a lot because NASCAR's not going to point that out and release that all over the thing that the winning car failed pre-inspection 3 times. But it's hard to, like you said, turn a blind eye to it when you're a fan. But I can understand if you're NASCAR and you're getting the money from it.
Now, is it... Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe this is just me because I'm a bow tie till I die guy. Is it just because of the simple fact that it's a Toyota in NASCAR that's dominating?
Because it's not a American brand.
Exactly.
I don't
know.
They're
all made here in America.
I don't think it's because it's Toyota. I think it's because Joe Gibbs Racing.
I honestly think it is part of it. I agree with Chop, or I will agree to that statement in that fact. And I think it's just because it's kind of like, for a while, Toyota was winning races, but, it never the problem until now, because now it's
like
a domination.
My opinion, it's because that Toyota gets shoved down our throats every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice with the commercials, the pace car. Did you notice at Richmond, the whole backstretch had giant letters, Toyota?
Yeah.
And it's like, and not to mention, there's a Toyota, Toyotas are top 5 in practice, a Toyota wins the pole, and a Toyota dominates the race. It's getting near Mercedes and F1 status.
Oh, and by the way, guys, make sure to check out NASCAR Heat 2, sponsored by Toyota. Yeah. Dang it. And even as a Chevy guy, I wouldn't, when I was talking about is it just because it's a Toyota? To me, it is. Because I would rather much see Roush Fenway dominate a season than Joe Gibbs. And just because of manufacturer.
You think...
And a little bit of heritage.
Some of it, too, is the fact that they might find... Maybe they're not cheating and it's kind of like everyone's upset, and maybe it's the fact that, as we're saying this, the fact that, there is someone interested in NASCAR.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, should we not be almost, like, why is it that we're angry that Toyota is investing money in NASCAR, keeping, like I said, the sport afloat with all the sponsorship and stuff, whereas, Ford and Chevy are nowhere to be found?
Well, I don't
I don't
mind
think
that.
Ford. I don't think
I
Ford
just-
even sponsors a race anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
except
mind
for-
that. It's
except
just
for
because they
Homestead.
dominate the races.
Yeah.
And that's
You know-
what makes it sketchy.
I mean, I'll agree.
But do you
I'm
think
not-
that's do you think that goes hand in hand with the fact Toyota is dumping the money?
Oh, probably.
I mean, it's just like F1. You dump the money into the sport, you're going to go faster.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, if you are a
simple
brand new,
facts.
if you are a brand new fan to NASCAR, unless you actually, I mean, if you closed your eyes and listened to a race, you'd never know there was anything other than a Toyota on the track. Chevrolet and Ford, they're nowhere to be found other than the actual physical car on the track. That's it. So there's absolutely no question in my mind that Toyota is good because Toyota, TRD, actually takes the time to invest in their racing. To me, Chevy, Ford, what are they doing? Where are they at? I don't ever see or hear or anybody talking about, well, Chevy factory's done a lot of this, or Ford, the factory's done a lot of this. Outside of NASCAR, I mean, you see it in sports car racing, American Le Mans. I mean, they're factory-backed teams. But in NASCAR, if you closed your eyes and listened to a race, you'd never know that there was 3 manufacturers. You'd think it's just Toyotas out there.
Like I said, I think that might be. Do you think that might be part of it? Those
Absolutely.
speculations.
I mean, I'm not saying Toyota's cheating. It wouldn't surprise me if they are. I mean, that's NASCAR's all about pushing the envelope. Not necessarily cheating, but at least seeing how much you can get away with, before you get a slap on the wrist. But as far as I'm concerned, and I eat, sleep, and breathe NASCAR, I don't see the level of involvement from Chevy or Ford like I do from Toyota. And not
So you
just
think that
advertisement.
maybe
I'm
they
talking about
wanna-
the actual teams.
You think that they're actually trying, but NASCAR is so invested in Toyota that they can't?
I don't
No.
know. See, I heard that Toyota and NBC had like a, I don't know, like a.
Well, do you think maybe Toyota's them to the punch too, though?
It's possible, and maybe
You know what I
this,
mean?
and maybe next year's Camaro is Chevy's attempt to, let's not dump any more money into this SS car that 3 people in America bought. Let's just get out of this, and as soon as we unveil and launch our brand new Camaro for Cup next season, then we're gonna dump a buttload of R&D money into our factory teams like Hendricks.
But then, like Ford, though, what's Ford gonna do? Is Ford gonna answer Chevy's bell and come out with the GT350R or something?
Because
Or-
the best Ford team is Penske,
Yeah.
and Penske, they're not really hurting. They're not as good as JGR, but they're not as bad as Roush, and I hate to say that. But Penske's doing pretty good. I mean, they're not up there battling for the win every single weekend, but they're not
They're up there. They're top 10
slumping it
car.
either. Yeah, absolutely. So
Before
maybe Ford is paying them some attention a little bit, So
Well,
who
and also
knows?
this is the first time in years where a Roush Fenway won.
Absolutely, yep. It is good. I like seeing, even though it's Stenhouse Jr. and it was plate tracks. I mean, I shouldn't say even though it was Stenhouse. I don't have anything against the dude. In fact, I like him. I like both him and Bain. I wish they would run for more wins. But watching a Roush Fenway car finally win in how long? That was kick ass.
Before we go far and get off the topic, I want to tell y'all what I noticed yesterday. Yesterday in the race.
Your
From
feet.
Yeah. From a mechanical standpoint, I look at what the cars are doing, and all race there was. Can we all agree that 78 and 18 were the fastest 2 cars in the race? Kyle had trouble, but I mean he was fast.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that them 2 cars were doing on track that none of the others that I saw, and I looked for it on all of them once I saw it. The 78 and 18, after 5 to 10 laps, they're rubbing the lettering off the left rear tire against the fender well. They've got the left rear tire tucked up in the fender well so far somehow to get aerodynamic profiling and grip that they're rubbing the letters off the tire. You could look at the tire and tell. None of the other cars on track were doing it. So maybe NASCAR and the other teams need to look at that and say whatever they're doing, it's in the left rear.
Possible.
Not saying what they're doing is illegal, but I mean it's a little fishy when by far the two fastest cars on track are the only two that are having that problem per se.
There's another thing I've noticed. Most every race, you can notice it at the night races more, but it's always the 78 is always sparking, and he's always sealed to the track more than any other car. I don't know if that's part of it or not, but I know a lot of teams mess with like tire pressures and stuff, and most of them do that. But even like 20 laps into a run, he'll still be sparking in the corners.
I saw something on
even then,
Facebook.
the race they took their tires away.
I was going to say, I saw something on Facebook today about NASCAR confiscated, I think it was the 18, and I forget who the other car
78.
was.
78.
Was it both their car? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Took both their tires to further investigate. You remember when Ryan Newman got busted for little pinholes in the sidewall at
Yeah.
Auto Club? So little shisty maneuvers like that.
Yeah.
you know?
NASCAR on I forgot who it was, but some NASCAR guy on Twitter, or maybe it was in the media center, and I saw it from a media guy on Twitter. But he was saying that he shot it down quick, saying that they do it every week. It's a routine thing to check tires. But every media guy that's there, I think it was Jeff Gluck, who's been at every race probably,
Yeah.
says he's never seen that before. So I don't know what's
They
going on
definitely
there.
never documented it mid-race, which they definitely did yesterday at Chicago.
Real quick, predictions for New Hampshire.
I hate to say it, but can't count out the 11 there.
I mean, Kyle Busch dominated that race until the end, though.
I think
Kevin
y'all
Harvick's
have the
pretty
right
good there.
team. I see Matt Kenseth getting his first win of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's skirted by enough. He's finally going to make a statement and say, I'm taking a week off and not worrying.
I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. I think that's a track that would have multiple grooves always seems to suit Kyle Larson. So are they going to put that crap down on the pavement again?
I hope not.
PJT or whatever
Whatever it is.
the crap is.
Or if they can wait until like Saturday night and do it. And
Yeah, that's what they should
Saturday
do.
races.
Show up on Thursday, practice, or Friday or whenever the Cup guys get there. Practice all weekend long, and then qualify. And as soon as they get done qualifying, right before the Xfinity race, they go out there and lay that crap down.
That would be nice.
I think if you're going to do it, they should put 3 inches of it right against the outside wall, not put any in the center of the corner. That stuff is such an advantage that it's not funny.
Yeah. Or put it on the apron. You want to use it? You want some sticky? You have to put those left side tires below the yellow
Go
line.
on the well, they do that anyway.
Well, I know, but still.
Gerald, who was your prediction for it?
I'm gonna go with Harvick.
Harvick? Happy Harvick?
Let's just let me back up. I'm not rooting for the 8 or the 11. I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm just saying you can't count him out.
No, that's your favorite driver. Didn't you
No.
just buy like his
No.
hat and T-shirt?
And by Jack from GR.
Did you just drive all the way to North Carolina to get his?
I did.
You guys front bumper hang in your house and all that too?
Uh-huh. I just
Yeah,
love
there's
that
posters all over
that
your wall.
purple, orange, and white. Combination of colors just goes together so beautifully.
It's fabulous. I miss.
I'm gonna go with.
that old white paint scheme.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm gonna go with the one that old Leffler ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was the 18.
Uh-huh.
FedEx.
I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott. I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott.
Okay. Chase Elliott gets his first win.
He's gonna get his first win.
That's a
Does-
funny joke.
I really do hope he gets at least one win in that 24 before he moves to the 9.
How bad would it be if William Byron steps into it next year and cracks off 3 wins?
Wins the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Qualifies on pole and wins. I would be kind of pissed because I like Chase Elliott. I like the 24 car. I don't necessarily think William Byron has actually earned that car yet. But that's not my decision to make.
Do you think maybe it was more for the fact that felt like it was maybe a Chase Elliott thing than it was a.
Yeah, Elliott probably wanted to go
totally.
to the 9.
Totally.
Well-
Chase Elliott moving to the 9 was probably an Elliott decision. I'm just talking about William Byron coming up to Cup in general.
Oh, I got you.
Speaking of
But
Elliott
we
going
all
to the
said
9,
Kyle Larson wasn't ready for get him now.
I have a differing opinion because I remember whenever he first came up into the sport, Hendrick offered him the 9, and he told him that he didn't want it. He wanted to make his own, path and follow his dad. I think he's bowing out of the 24 because he's tired of trying to live up to the pressure that Jeff Gordon gave that number.
I mean, I can see that argument. At the same time, I don't get that impression from Chase Elliott that he's trying to live up to his dad. You know what I'm saying?
I think if anyone's going to have any pressure next season, it's going to be Alex Bowman.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, exactly. I forgot about him coming up, too. Man. Dang.
Why? I mean, he shouldn't have any pressure. Junior's averaged like a 23rd finish this year, so I mean,
Yeah, I
there's
know.
no pressure. All you got to do is average better than a 23rd place finish, and you're an upgrade.
Yeah. I bet, after a couple seasons, under his belt in Cup, I could see where Chase Elliott would be like, you know what? Given the opportunity, I think I will take that 9, Just because.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing the 9 back on a Cup car. Either.
No. Heck no. Well, I mean, he drove the 9 in Xfinity, so.
Yeah.
Well-
What did you drive in trucks? Was he 9 or was he 20? What was his number?
Was he not the 9 also in the truck?
I want to say he was the 9.
I think he was. I think he ran different numbers in the trucks. I don't think it was ever the one set number.
Because he didn't ever run a full season
Yeah,
in
he
trucks,
never
did
ran
he?
a full season. Yeah.
It was just a handful of races.
I know his whole life he's been number 9. He was a 9 late model. He was a 9 legend car. He was a 9 everything.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think with that being said, I think we should move to Ted Christopher. Over the weekend, Ted Christopher passed away through a small plane accident in the northeast New England area. Unfortunate circumstance. He was, from what Gerald told me, I unfortunately don't know too much. But from what Gerald told me, the dude raced everything: mods, IMSA. He raced in NASCAR at some point as well in the Belt 3 series. It's the racing community lost another one. So Gerald, do you him a lot, being a big mods fan? Anything you want to add to it?
I'm not going to dive too deep because I could probably talk for hours.
We don't have hours.
Yes. No, but I've never experienced that. And I've never wanted to experience that. But I was, sitting in the crowd at Riverhead Raceway waiting for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour to start qualifying. And over the PA, the track announcer guy comes on and says, yeah, there's 24 cars on the premises. Only 23 are going to take time. So I was like, okay. Someone probably just backed out. It was probably one of the lower funded guys. Maybe one of the local guys couldn't afford tires or something. So I went on Facebook to see who it was. And that's where I first saw the rumors. Because they first started out as rumors. No one really knew what was going on. So I kind of dismissed it. I saw the local news in Connecticut said, oh yeah, one injured in plane crash, whatever. They didn't release any names. So I was like, all right, one injured. All right, whatever. I saw Ted Christopher's name was being linked to it. So I was like, all right, he's probably okay. And then people around me in the crowd started, chatting about it and stuff. And then I finally saw the news from a other driver. And then it blew up. And it was everywhere. And they did the tribute before. And it was for people to understand, being in that crowd with all the fellow fans of not only him, but where he's raced his whole career, it's like our Earnhardt died on the way to the track, or our Ayrton Senna. It's like sitting like Dequan, like I told you yesterday, it would be like sitting at the British Grand Prix and getting word that Lewis Hamilton just died in a plane crash on his way there. So it was definitely tough, but they did a nice tribute, and it's been everywhere, and I've loved the respect from the whole racing community and the moment of silence before the Cup race on Sunday, and just everything has been really nice, and I hope he gets honored in the Hall of Fame. If not this year, he's definitely bound at some point for sure.
I think that's fortunately, it was, it's a death, but I mean, it's kind of the risk that these people take. Unfortunately, it's not even on the track. It's plane crash. But that's just kind of, these people just kind of live their lives like that. They're adrenaline junkies, and I think that's why NASCAR is. What was it? Someone said is the last thing man can chase because it's a thing that you can never get enough of. So, because you always push the issue, it's 200, now 250. Now, production cars are pushing 300 miles per hour and whatever, and lap times are getting faster and faster and stuff like that. So, but fortunate accident, unfortunately, it took a life of a great racer altogether, not just a great, modified driver. If I'm not mistaken, he won the championship in 2008.
Yeah, he only won one NASCAR modified championship, but he won, I believe, 9 Stafford track championships, 3 Waterford. He won 99 races at Thompson. He won 131 at Stafford, and he won, I think, 12 K&N races and 31 Busch North races, and I don't even know if people were even able to keep track of everything that he did.
I think the best way to describe him would be a racer's racer,
Yeah. He was literally, there's no other way to explain it other than he was the Earnhardt of the Northeast.
He's a legend in his own right, you know what I'm saying? I mean, in his community of racing, he's a legend. It's like, I'm not a huge dirt guy, but and I don't know a whole lot about him, but Scott Bloomquist. I mean, I know enough about that dude. I mean, he's a freaking legend in the dirt community,
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
One quick note, I went and looked it up. Chase Elliott has never driven the number 9 in the truck series. He drove the 94 when he was in development.
That's what it was.
Which was also one of his dad's numbers. If I remember correctly, that was the number his dad drove for himself with when he was on his own team.
He
in
drove,
the 90s.
Yeah, he drove that because his brother died, and that was his number. Bill Elliott had a brother, because I looked that up because I always wonder what that was about. But I think that's enough NASCAR for right now. Anyone watch the F1 Singapore Grand Prix?
I did.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Chops and I are the only ones that do follow F1. In a sense,
unfortunately,
I watch it when I can, but now when it's,
yeah,
7 a.m. on a Sunday, I'm sleeping.
Oh, that's what DVR's for, brother.
Yeah, well, then the Cup race was on, and then the IndyCar race was on.
I watched both races today. I missed both races on Sunday, and I actually watched both of them today.
Although, even though I DVR'd it, I still started watching the pre-race show about 30 minutes after the actual race started. So I was only about 30 minutes behind schedule.
Big news out of F1: both Ferraris did not point in the.
Not only did they not point, they didn't even both Ferraris didn't even make it past turn 2.
Yeah.
Of the opening
They didn't make
lap.
it turn 1. Or one Ferrari didn't make it.
Sebastian made it past turn 1, but he didn't make it to turn 2.
Yeah.
Well, he spun. If you consider turn 2, it's more like a 1A or 1B.
Take it for what it is, but it kind of looks like on the start, Sebastian Vettel didn't get the greatest of starts, and Kimi Räikkönen got an amazing start.
No.
And Max Verstappen was stuck in the middle. Unfortunately, kind of got squeezed, popped into Kimi Räikkönen and wrecked that car. Kimi Räikkönen then wrecked back into Max Verstappen, collected Fernando Alonso, who can never catch a break at all in any form of it.
He catches a lot of breaks. Just not
And
the
in
right
that
breaks.
god-awful Honda McLaren car made an amazing start.
I don't know, I forgot where he started off the top of my head, but I do know that he was up to third by turn one, and it was gone.
Yep. That doesn't fail. That's Fernando Alonso. If this could quite possibly be his last season in F1, he hasn't said yay or nay yet. He hasn't said anything about where he's going next year, but he's having the Dale Jr. season of F1 right now.
I think even worse so because Fernando's having like his talent wasted in that sense.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a driver who's what, 35?
Yeah, 35, and I mean it's someone who's driving that McLaren Honda way above.
Oh, absolutely.
Should be.
He's taking a 15th place car and scoring points from time to time with it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I would say I can't really blame Verstappen too much because he may not have been focusing so much on Kimi with, granted they're in the rain, so he's probably
visibility was low. I did not like the call of a standing start. I thought they should have.
Yeah.
They should have done a rolling start.
And Sebastian does take a little blame. I mean, and this is every F1 start though. It doesn't matter if it's dry or wet. First place always what's the first thing you do? Oh, you go and you try to squeeze second place as hard as you can right off the bat. Especially at a place like Singapore where the first turn is right there, And Verstappen may have only been focusing on Sebastian, not realizing that Kimi has such a freaking awesome launch. And, I'm surprised Kimi didn't say he didn't Raikkonen his statements as much as he probably could have. He was just like, what the F was that? And that's about as far as that went. But yeah, for both Ferraris to pretty much be taken out, and then his spin when Sebastian's spin coming out of that right-hand dog leg, which is technically, I guess, considered turn two. You saw that once he got going straight again, how much fluid he was squirting out the back of that car. But yeah, they said that's the first time that both Ferraris have been knocked out of a race since
11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. That's what it was.
Yeah. That really hurt Sebastian Vettel's chances in the championship now.
Oh, yeah,
forward.
absolutely. It's going to take Lewis Hamilton DNFing somewhere for Sebastian to make those points back.
Which is a possibility. Let's
absolutely.
definitely not take that out because that definitely happened last year with Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. So don't count Sebastian Vettel out, but you definitely can't have another mistake. But big news is something that you won't see in NASCAR, but McLaren got rid of Honda. Honda will now be on a Toro Rosso, and part of the deal with that is that the Renault will now have Carlos Sainz Jr. as your driver. Julian Palmer loses his ride in F1. So
yep, and they're going to McLaren.
Yep, and Renault will be now powered by Renault now powered McLaren next year, which that could entice Alonso to stay in F1 with McLaren. Who knows? There's not an actual.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Alonso would stick around for a year of development. Because even though Renault is, even Red Bull is saying Renault needs to put up or get out.
But that's more Red Bull wanting more power and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're McLaren, any car, anything is better. Anything is
Yeah.
humanly better.
And another little, I don't know if this is true or not. He could have been just joking around. I kind of took it as a joke. But yesterday's IndyCar race, congratulations to Joseph Newgarden, the first American to win Indy since 2011?
Yeah, I think it's been like 5 or 6 years.
But I watched a video today, which I was rooting for Joseph Newgarden. But I watched a video today, and it was Rob Miller interviewing Elio Castroneves yesterday after the race. And, Castroneves is leaving Penske. And he didn't say where he was going, though, but he said, so what's the deal? You're taking Alonso's ride, and Alonso's going to take over your Penske ride? He was like, I don't know. But he had that Elio Castroneves, grin, I don't know, kind of grin on his face. So I don't know. I'm not putting any stock into that comment, but Alonso said it was a couple weeks ago. It might have been the last race. I forget would they race last 2 weeks ago? Hell, I can't remember.
Oh,
anyway, but he was saying, he was like,
No, it was Monza, not Belgium.
But he said, Monza. But Fernando Alonso said that he was going to say later in the week his plans for next season, but he never did. At least if he did, I didn't see it. But he was talking about how he's already been talking to other F1 teams. He's already been talking to Michael Andretti for a possibly riding in IndyCar full time. And he's been talking back and forth with a couple WEC teams. Alonso took over Elio's ride in IndyCar for Penske. That would be amazing. I would love that. I mean, I know Alonso is an F1 dude, but that'd be kick-ass to see Alonso driving a competitive IndyCar,
Yeah, it would be awesome. It would be awesome to see, him compete again altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about the, Joseph Newgarden, he did win the championship at Sonoma. Anyone watch the race?
Yeah, I did.
Gerald, Dustin, did either of you guys watch the race?
I watched, I think, just bits and pieces.
I did watch. I got a good dog. Leave me alone.
I gotta say this. I like the IndyCar series. I'm not a huge IndyCar fan. I'll be probably a bigger IndyCar fan when they finally get out of the most ugliest race car ever.
They just did way too many weird edges and things sticking out and crap to that car.
This DW Dallara 12 chassis, ever since it came out with those rear wheel pods, I thought it was one of the ugliest race cars I've ever seen. I cannot stand it. And quite frankly, that's the reason why I don't watch it as much as I used to. But next year, new car, it looks freaking sweet. Sonoma, those guys need to run. I don't mind the configuration they run that course at, except for the last turn. The last turn, there's no reason why they're not running the NASCAR U-turn at the end. That little short chute, that's in the middle where they're running over the yellow line and running it all the way out to that's so stupid. There's no reason to make a made-up turn right there. Just run around the last turn, Other than that, I like that configuration of the course. Always have, except for that one turn.
That corner is the best corner. It's always been one of my favorite corners in all of the NASCAR season. I don't know why they don't.
I guess it's in case they lock up a brake, they're not slamming into the tire barrier there. At least they've got some runoff room.
Corner either.
No, but at least the way they've got it now, or the way they've been running it, they've got a little bit of runoff room, but not by much, because those guys are pushing every inch they can get, and pushing that exit of that turn all the way out to the wall. So I don't know. That's the only part of the IndyCar configuration at Sonoma that I just go, that is so freaking stupid. Why are they not just running the regular turn 11 right there? Or whatever it is, turn 12.
Yeah. I think we should talk about favorite tracks as well going forward. But with that being said, as at a time for, J-Wall, Gerald, Tops, and myself. Thank you for listening. We are on Podbeam
And Dustin guest.
and and Dustin the guest.
Yes.
Yeah, we're on. Where are we on? We're on Podbeam, Stitcher,
And YouTube.
and YouTube. Like I said, please do like, share, comment, tweet, all that stuff. Spread the word. And thank you for listening. Have a nice day.
Laters.